Hi, in this video we're going to look at how to protect the data in your Sheets in Google Sheets. Okay, so first of all, you may have noticed in the last video we got this data from the internet and something interesting happened. I lost my additional columns. So because I imported, I copied and pasted and then cut some data, I've only got columns A through F, and I may want to do some calculations or do some other things over here. So in order to get those, you can just click on the last column, right click, and say insert column. Now it's going to put it to the left. I can repeat that process. I can right click and I can do it several times. But before I do, I'm going to cut this data. I could copy it, but I'm going to cut it, Control X, and then I'm going to paste it. And that leaves me this extra column. I can come back to this column and say insert columns, and now I can get as many as I want to the right. If I wanted to do this quickly, instead of right clicking, once I do it once, I can hold the Control key and hit Y. Now I've got to do this. Without performing any other task or function, because once I do that, once I copy something else or do something else, then it's not going to be the last thing I do, so the Control Y or the undo is not going to work. So basically, if you do something like that, just immediately Control Y, Control Y, Control Y, and that will save you some time. Now, I've got all this nice data here, and I'm going to give this to my students for them to work on. However, I'm going to ask them to perform some calculations, etc. However, what I don't want them to do is to accidentally change the data. This is historical data. It shouldn't change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to protect the data in the cells. So first thing I want to do is select the data I wish to protect. So here it is. None of this should change. And then if I go to data, I'm going to find this protect sheets and ranges. So you can see right now it's selected on range, and it's got the tab name, New York Giants, and it's got A1 to F42, which is exactly what I want. If I wanted to protect the entire sheet, I could just click on sheet over here. And once I have this, I can give it a description, historical data. And now I can set the permissions. You can see, because of the way I'm creating it, I've given permission to myself with this Gmail account, and of course with my official account. If I didn't want this person to be able to change it, I simply unclick the box. Okay, so these are people who specifically have permission to edit this range of cells. Okay, so that doesn't lock up the whole sheet, just the ones I specified. And if I needed to, I could come in here and I could select another set of cells, and I could restrict access to those cells in a similar way. Okay, now to protect the entire sheet, let's come here to data. I could simply come here, and now this entire sheet, if I set these permissions, the entire sheet is restricted. However, I can use the option of exempting certain cells and adding those in there. So two approaches. I can either lock up all the cells on a particular sheet that I want, or I can lock up the sheet and exempt cells. Kind of two approaches to doing the same thing. Now, because I own this, if I came in here and decided I wanted to add a 4 in there, I could do that. However, anybody else cannot. Anybody else who attempted to do that would get an error message. So good idea, lock up your sheets, teach your kids how to lock up the data, and it helps also to distinguish between what it is reasonable to edit and what should not be edited, so what should be protected. And of course, if somebody owns a document, they can always come back to this sheet or range over here, and they can just trash it. So if they've made a mistake, or if there's a mistake in the data that needs to be updated one time, you simply trash the trash the lock, fix it up, and then put the lock back on.